All right, y'all. This right here is a vacuum actuator for the trunk. For the trunk of most Mercedes from at least from the early 2000s to 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I don't know, whatever. May even be before that. But whenever they introduce the pneumatic, the soft suction, the pneumatic release, vacuum controlled trunk release mechanisms, this is incorporated in the design. Now, this is already taken apart. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because this is a common issue with trunks that do not operate when you press either the button on the key remote, the key fob trunk release, or if you reach up underneath the trunk and push the lever. If all you hear is hissing, this is typically the problem. 99% of the time, this is the problem. The lines that connect, there is a pneumatic line, an air line that connects to it right here. That seldom breaks. But this right here comes apart because it is these, around here, it's a snap-on design. And this right here is what secures it, and they break off. This right here is the notch that catches. It has a notch here, 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 here. And eventually, over time, they become brittle. They're always under pressure whenever you operate this. They become brittle. This thin piece of plastic right here becomes brittle just with age, just what it is. Plastic does that with heat, cold, they become brittle. And they no longer, one at a time, they start snapping. They no longer can hold this. All right. So you have, the only thing that's left now is, I think, just one. There's just one of these left. You see that? So you have here a rubber bladder. And when air comes into this, it expands this, causes this lever right here, this notch right here, or this hole, or whatever you want to call it, to expand, and it comes out of this hole, which pushes onto a lever. Let me get that straight. I'll show you. It's easier to show you than to explain it. Now this did go like this. And I'm going to blow on this, and you're going to see this right here extend out, which is the bladder expanding because the backside of it, or the underside of it, is being filled with air. And so it pushes it, expands it, lifts it, and causes this right here, this rod, to come out, which will hit a lever, which will actuate or activate the trunk release mechanism. It pushes on the rod, it pushes on the lever, the rod extends, pushes on the lever, which causes the rod to unlock the trunk. All right, so let me just show you real quick. I'm gonna show you blowing on this. Hold on. Oh, see, that's what happens, right? Okay. Like a breathalyzer test. So that extension of the piston right here hits the rod and releases the trunk release. Whatever, that mechanism that releases the trunk. Without this working properly, your trunk will not release when you push the button on the remote or push the lever. Your trunk will not release. Instead, it does this. Yeah, so that's why people's trunk will not release when you press that lever. If you just hear hissing, that's the problem. And if you're not hearing hissing, and it used to hiss, that means the pump is shut down. Either the pump doesn't work, or you have to reset it by pulling the, I think it's a 20 amp fuse, whatever your fuse box, however it's set up. In the CL, the W215, the passenger side rear seat footwell has, at the heel of your foot, there is a fuse box right there that has a 20 amp fuse, which is for the air interlocking system. And it's directly related to the trunk pump that operates the trunk release. It also has to do with the rest of your pneumatic control systems, your door locks and things of that nature. Now, it will individually shut down just the trunk line, right? The part of the pump that feeds the trunk, it will shut that one down so that it doesn't burn up if it keeps having air release. At some point, if it realizes that it's blowing too long, it will shut that down. And that's what happens, because it shouldn't blow that long. But if it keeps hissing, then that means that there is a leak and it's not able to do what it's supposed to do. This is a simple design. A spring, the piston, rubber bladder, and the case. So, how are people fixing this? Well, you can glue it. It's a simple design, easy to fix. You can replace these for 50 bucks plus tax online, or you can just fix this one. You can glue it. Understand that it's under pressure. And so, however you decide to glue it, whoops, it has to stay intact. All right, so it has to stay intact. Now you can glue this thing, which is what I've done before on past failures. You just glue it all the way around. I use like a Gorilla Gel Super Glue. I also run zip ties around it. Make sure that the zip ties do not impede operation, of course. But you can run 2 zip ties, boom, boom, like this across it. After you glue it, and that'll hold. I've run 2 zip ties and then I think like a third one around there just to keep the zip ties from sliding off. There's all types of functions or funky ways that you can make this thing function and operate and stay put. But it has to stay like this. It has to stay closed like this. So do what you got to do or just replace it. But if you replace it, just know years down the road, maybe 10, 20 years down the road, it'll probably happen again. Especially if you get a cheap one. Keep in mind, this car is a 2003. It's 2024, so it took 21 years for it to break. So just keep it in perspective, guys. But yep, that's how you replace this thing or fix this thing. And that's how it works. And that's why it fails. And just go ahead and figure it out, guys. Do what you have to do to make your trunk start working again. But simple design, really a simple fix. So how you access this? Well, you guys can YouTube how to get access to this, how to remove the lining of your trunk and what screws to remove and how to drop that mechanism, then how to pop this out. These 2 pieces right here snap into place. It's just those right here with the little notches. So put pressure up underneath this to separate it and then squeeze these 2 together. Use a flathead screwdriver, pry them loose, and then it pops out. This right here snaps onto place, the airline. Just use a flathead screwdriver. Do not break the prongs that connect it, that lock it in place. Just pry them back and put some pressure up underneath to pop it off, and that's it. All right, so that's the problem, and you guys know how to fix it now. So figure out what's best for you. Either just replace it or fix this one. Save you some money, or just buy a new one. You're welcome. Go to my Autoworks. I'm out.